Thank you for joining us on a Friday afternoon, a game day afternoon. We know it's difficult and there's many competing interests, but we're glad that you took an interest in our event. I am Paloma García Lopez, and I'm the Associate Director of the Institute for Latino Studies. We celebrated our 25th anniversary last year, and many of the members of the Hispanic Alumni of Notre Dame celebrated with us in person. We've done this panel for 10 years now together every Hispanic Heritage Month virtually, and last year and this year we've been doing it in person. And our panelists, I promise you, want to share their time and their advice to save you a lot and help you along your journey. So we please, welcome your questions and your interest in the networking session. We're going to kick off today with Dr. Carlos Meade, who's originally from Brownsville, Texas. After graduating with his BA from Notre Dame, he went to Texas for his medical degree and then Florida for his skin cancer and reconstructive surgery residency. And he currently resides in Tulsa, Oklahoma with his wife and 3 kids, and he owns his own medical practice now. And he was elected to the HAND board in 2023. So we've been partnering with him and with the others that you see here today to execute this panel, all for the benefit of you, and we hope to see you in the seats of the Hispanic alumni on our panel and on our board in the future. So with that, Dr. Meade.
Thank you. Thank you, Paloma. They might need some help. Let me see with advancing on the slides.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, like Paloma said, I graduated from here in 2001 and lived in Keenan Hall. And after this, went to medical school in Texas and then did 7 years of residency in Florida, and then practiced in Texas. Now I practice in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And about 3 years ago, they asked us to do this panel, and it was via Zoom. It was in 2023. And so we had it was an awesome panel of speakers, but I realized that, you guys are fed up with Zooms. And so I said, there was like 6 people that logged on, and they probably weren't listening at all. And so I said, okay, let's do this. This was great. And literally, like immediately, we logged off the meeting, and I said, let's do this, but let's do it next year. We're going to do it live, right? And so, and we're gonna do it in Bond with ILS, and Paloma was instrumental in getting that to work perfectly. I mean, she always is such tremendous. They are basically our boots on the ground here on campus. Now I serve I'm the chair of the Hispanic Alumni Board, and we invited Gregor. He's our newest board member for this year, and there's 6 of us on the board, and we represent you guys so that whenever you guys not only wait until you graduate, but while you're here on campus, we work with the student groups. We try to incorporate everything we do with what you guys are doing. So use us as a resource, and then especially after graduation, obviously, use us as resources so that we can help you guys be successful, right? So that's what it all boils down to. So, so we did it live last year, went very well. About a year ago, and then now we want to keep it going live. And obviously this is the fruit of the labor. There's many more people attending than there was virtually. So thank you guys for attending. Hopefully you learned something about it. If you don't mind, Paloma, if you don't mind, do they have the remote version of it anyway? No?
I don't see the clicker.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, here's.
With this one?
Yeah. So this bottom piece into your go-to.
Oh, is there like?
Yeah. So either.
Yeah, if you tell me, I can change the screen.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah, from here.
Perfect. I can use that one.
Just let me know.
Okay.
Just tell me and
Okay.
I'll do it.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Thank you very much. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. and we're just gonna try to knock this out and go. That way we can get to the most important part where you guys can engage with the speakers. But so Dr. Lukas Mendoza is the undergraduate academic advisor of the School of Architecture here at Notre Dame. He recently began his position after serving as a high school counselor in public and private schools in California, Indiana, and Rhode Island. He helps students as they discern and complete their postdoctoral or post-secondary goals. And he holds a Bachelor of Arts in Romance Languages and Literatures from Notre Dame, Master of Arts from Loyola Marymount University, and a Doctor of Education from Peabody College at Vanderbilt. And so help me welcome Dr. Mendoza. Okay, go ahead. And Manuel Davila?
Yeah, he's parking right now.
Okay.
So when I
It's
give
typical.
Caballo and
You know, if us Latinos show up something early to something, something's wrong. I did introduce my good friend Gregor Arimany, who you can, if you want to scroll back there to your original one. Gregor is a distinguished finance professional with a dynamic career spanning corporate development and investment banking across sectors such as education, telecom, and renewable energy. He grew up in Guatemala. And Gregor's international perspective and deep understanding of regional markets have greatly influenced his professional journey. He currently serves as the head of corporate development of Latin America at Nord Anglia Education, the world's leading premium international school organization. And Gregor has played a pivotal role in expanding the economy's global footprint. So help me welcome
Thank you.
Gregor Arimany.
who's next?
Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Nicolas is also a good friend of mine. We've known each other when Nicolas was a freshman in Keenan Hall. I was a senior, and I was one of the RAs there, so we got to know Nicolas. It's actually a very nice story of how we met. Nicolas, very first week during what would be like freshman orientation, I was an RA, and we kind of had a speech with all the freshmen and all the incoming students, and we went to eat at North Dining Hall, and I saw someone who didn't know anybody that was on crutches with a broken foot and a cast, who went and sat down at a table far away from the group. So I went and sat with him, and I said, "Hey, nice to meet you. Welcome to Notre Dame." And here we are. So that's how long we've remained friends from that moment. So it's a very, very, very full circle moment to have Nicolas here. Nicolas is a seasoned business executive with over 20 years of experience in strategic management, entrepreneurship, and corporate leadership. He's native from Honduras. He graduated with honors from Notre Dame in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in business administration. He maintains a strong connection with Notre Dame, having served in leadership roles with Notre Dame Alumni Club of Honduras, and including being the co-president. And he and all of his family is here, so you guys can get to talk to Nicolas. Help me welcome the Maalouf family and Nicolas. Dr. April García is an assistant teaching professor in the Institute of Educational Initiatives at Notre Dame. She holds a Bachelor of Business Administration, a Master's of Education, and a Master of Arts from Notre Dame, and recently earned her Doctorate of Education from the Rossier School of Education at the University of Southern California. Obviously, she lacks education. April began her career as an elementary school teacher in San Antonio, before serving as a middle school teacher and leader in South Los Angeles. She later became the founding director of Onward Readers, a comprehensive literacy initiative supporting principals, teachers, students, and families in the Department of Catholic Schools in Los Angeles. Help me welcome Dr. García. Crystal Martinez is a proud alum of Notre Dame as well. class of 2003 with a Bachelor of Arts and Master of Education in 2005. She's originally from the south side of Chicago, and prior to joining Notre Dame, Crystal served in the University of California's Office of Federal Governmental Relations, where she first started as the Director of Educational Policy and most recently served as a Senior Director of the team. During Crystal's tenure at UC, she led the effort to coalesce a federal campaign to double the Pell Grant, which resulted in the largest federal investment in the Pell Grant in over a decade. Additionally, during the pandemic, she negotiated a compromise on the distribution formula used for Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, generating $1.3 billion of additional support for UC students and campuses. Help me welcome Dr. Crystal Martinez. Ruben Medina has 20 plus years of experience in academia and the private sector. In the private sector, he is the Chief Executive Officer of Patia Technologies, a health technology company leveraging next generation sequencing and artificial intelligence to increase access to precision medicine for cancer in under-researched populations. He's also the founder and president of Furin Kazan, hopefully I said that correctly, venture company, a global entrepreneurial finance and startup advisory firm. Ruben de Jesus holds a Master of Science in Finance, magna cum laude, and a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Notre Dame. Please help me welcome Ruben de Jesus.
We got Manuel.
All right, Manuel's here. Manuel Davila is our final panelist. Was born and raised in Venezuela and then moved to Curacao, where he graduated high school. He graduated in 2006 from the Mendoza College of Business with a bachelor's in business administration. And in 2017, Manuel joined Cushman and Wakefield, a leading global commercial real estate firm, where he was instrumental in its successful initial public offering in 2018. Most recently, he's serving as the company's vice president, assistant global controller, and also oversees finance for the South American region. Please help me welcome Manuel Davila. So Gregor's going to drive a series of questions for the panelists, and it is an uninterrupted discussion. At any point, if you all feel like you have a question that maybe pertains to something that was brought up, please, we invite interruptions. So please feel free to ask any questions from any of the panelists or myself throughout this discussion.
So I think Manuel needs 5 minutes to recover.
Yeah.
He just ran all the way from the park.
This has got to be the hottest October 3rd in the history of South Bend.
There's some water.
Probably.
But anyway, thank you to all the panelists. Thank you for the audience. Please keep in mind that they started where you are from where you are right now, thinking about the future, making plans, and the journey from point A to B is not usually a straight line. Challenges come up, plans change, and sometimes even the definition of point B changes. So with that, we're gonna do a deep dive. Maybe let's start with Nicholas. He used to be my roommate. So when we talked at night about the future, his plans, so let's see where he ended up. So Nicholas, why don't you walk us through your journey from college to where you are now? And it would be great if you could highlight, your ups and downs and challenges you faced. So go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I sat in the middle because I didn't want to be the first, but thank you, Ruben. Yeah. Life, like Gregor says, you have perfectly laid out plans. You know exactly what the first step is and what every subsequent step is going to be. And then life starts and everything totally changes. So, at university, at college, I had plans. I was lucky in a way that I wanted to go back to work for my family business. It was a extended family business, and I already had my job lined up. and that's a blessing, but could also be a curse, right? But the way I saw it is, it was a blessing. So I started working for the family business. It was gonna be, I had my career path already set up, and then life happens, right? My father and my uncle decided to part ways in the partnership, so I was suddenly out of a job. The perfectly laid plans started, from zero. During that time, my mother passed away, and that changed just the family dynamic, right? Losing such a important person in the group, in the family group, and I had to start basically forging from a well-established company with procedures and kind of a well-traced route to a different company in a different industry, and learning how to use all the technology that I used to have an assistant to help me with. So suddenly I had to learn how to use the scanner copier and all these little things, right? There wasn't AI. I had to write my own letters, and now it's easier, by the way. Life totally changed, but it's something to keep in mind is God has a plan for everyone, and it's not our plan, but it's the best plan for us. So it was a roller coaster. Had everything set up to starting basically from zero, and it's been fun, stressful sometimes, but fun.
Thank you, Nicholas. Same story, maybe, Crystal, can we continue with you?
Sure. I would say a pivotal moment that led me to where I am now is attending the Latino freshman retreat, which some of you might have participated in. I met an alum during that retreat who talked to me about her experience in the ACE program. And I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do after college. As a first-gen student, you often think about okay, how can I help, pay back what my family has supported me with in terms of, making sure that I go to school and have everything I need. And so usually you're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna become a doctor, so maybe a lawyer. So I thought I might go to law school, and I just didn't feel like I was ready to make that sort of investment because it's so expensive. And so the teaching program really spoke to me because of the experience that she shared with me, but also my personal experience with having teachers that were in my path through my education that encouraged me to seek opportunities and go to college and be the first in my family to graduate from college. So, in teaching along the border in McAllen, Texas, I learned a lot about that community. I'm originally from Chicago, so the border community is very different. But it made me want to pursue public policy just because of the way I saw state policies unfolding that are related to federal policies. So I went to Washington, D.C. after I was done and did a fellowship that summer, and I ended up staying in Washington, D.C. for pretty much my whole career. I still live there. So I have had the opportunity to work for lawmakers on the House and the Senate. I worked at the Department of Education, and I've had really wonderful experiences learning along the way many things. But the thing that I take away from each experience is that oftentimes the work in the education K-12 space is the decisions being made are not reflective of the communities that are being served by our public education system. And so having a part of the policymaking realm of that has been really just a very personally rewarding experience for me. And then how I ended up working for Notre Dame doing federal relations, it just all kind of came together. So now I'm really proud that I get to advocate on behalf of the university, making sure that we are really expanding our footprint at the federal level, making sure that lawmakers know that we do research, that we can be a resource, that we educate servant leaders. We do have a lot of first-gen students. We do have students that are Pell students. And so just telling that story is really important. So I'm really thankful for that.
Thank you, Crystal. Can you recall, Crystal, maybe at some point in your career where you felt very challenged and you were about to quit? Had that ever happened to you?
I mean, you know, I've been in a lot of policy fights over the years, and there were times where, if you look at my background, I've worked for Democrats my whole career, and there were times that I was challenged by the party I identify with in policy making. And so I was working on a specific piece of legislation that would align the federal definitions of how you count homelessness, because homeless children and families are counted very differently than how the regular homeless population is, those without dependents. HUD counts it a certain way, and the Department of Education and the Department of Health and Human Services counts it a different way. So I was trying to align the definitions and the way they count that. And I ended up fighting with people at the Department of Housing and Urban Development about the way they count homelessness. And they were pushing back on the bill that I had written and had my boss introduce at the time. And so I basically, you know, it was really challenging because I had worked in that administration, and then to be on the other side of the fight from a lawmaker's perspective, it was just like really challenging. And I was like, what are we doing here? Aren't we here to help families and children access the social safety programs that were built to help them? So yeah, those are some challenging times.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Now let's jump to Manuel, who's now famous. So same question, Manuel, can you walk us through your journey?
Yeah, happy to. So, first of all, happy. Thanks for inviting me, Gregor, and everyone else here for coming. I really appreciate and feel honored to be here. My story is one of an immigrant story. So I was born in
Do we have
Venezuela.
any immigrants here?
So I was born in Venezuela, and then I had the opportunity to grow up in Curacao through my dad's work. But then when it came down to graduation, Venezuela wasn't really an option. It was at that point pretty tough to go back. My family was actually very active against the government, so my family was persecuted. Some of my family members went to jail and everything. So that wasn't an option. So the U.S. became kind of like the dream. And when I got to Notre Dame, I mean, that was kind of like a dream come true. So from that point on, it was all about how do I stay in the country, right? Because I couldn't go back to my own country. So it was all about how to survive, if you will, in terms of being able to accomplish that goal. So what ended up happening was, for me as an accounting major, it was pretty much Big Four or bust. So, you know, KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, or PwC, because those companies were sponsoring immigrants for visas to be able to work in the U.S. So I basically studied as hard as I could, took as many credits as I could to get to be a CPA eligible participant, and then ultimately got the opportunity to go with Deloitte in Chicago as an auditor. So I spent 11 years of my career there, and now I'm at Cushman & Wakefield, like was said earlier. But for me, it's been all about keeping track of the goal, which is to have a better life, and knowing that failure wasn't an option because of what was the other option, which would have been very, very tough. So I think that for me kind of has given me a different perspective in life, because it was like I had no choice but to persevere and kind of break through the barrier and succeed.
Yeah, I can relate to your story. I'm an immigrant too. So thank you for sharing. Now, April.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself, your journey.
So I like to immediately just start by saying that what you major in is wonderful, and whatever you decide is going to be wonderful. There's no indication on your life at all. I was a business major and actually went into education, kind of always assuming that I would be a K-12 or K-8 teacher. And I happened to just be at, so this is why it's important to always be networking, happened to be at a tailgate. And I was talking to someone who had just started a new job, and he said, "Hey, how'd you ever think about getting into higher ed?" And I said, "Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I've never taught even high school." And he's like, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. We just have these opportunities. And I was like, oh, I'm really excited about these two things part of the job. That teaching thing feels a little weird to me. And actually ended up finding out that teaching, no offense to all of you, but teaching to me, my favorite people to teach are like grown-ups, first graders, and seventh graders. Because they all have like such a desire to want and to do. also have a lot of feelings at times that they're managing. And what I found through Notre Dame is, and I'm very open about and very transparent that I was not a straight A student by any means at Notre Dame. Every day was an absolute struggle. And as a result of that, I think I've approached education both in the K-12 space and now I primarily teach graduate students, although shout out to my undergrad students that are here right now, that we should not be in higher ed the gatekeeper for someone's success later in life. And so while I think it's important that we celebrate who's getting the internships and who's getting the awards and the acknowledgements, I just believe that in higher ed, we also have the opportunity to say, like, this is the bar that we believe all students should be capable of. What are we going to do to make sure everybody gets there? And so I feel that my approach to education was really shaped by what I say to be really hard experiences at Notre Dame, that I continue to say, like, I'm a warm demander. I will not lower the bar, but you can bet that I will work really hard to make sure every student gets there. And that's something that I believe was shaped by Notre Dame. And it's one of the reasons why I imagine, I always tell people too, I don't know where I'm gonna be, where I'm gonna grow up. If you think I'm a grown up now, that's great too. But I just feel like no matter what, it will come back to students feeling not just successful, but that they really truly belong in a space and that they are representative of that space too.
You mentioned a bit of uncertainty, right? You
Mhm.
don't know where you're gonna end up.
Correct. Yeah. Never thought, I mean, I will say, like, Notre Dame's lovely, but I live in South Bend. No shade to anyone who lives in South Bend. I did not think I was going to ever come back to Notre Dame, except for a game, maybe a tailgate. And I live here exactly 1 mile or about 2 miles away from here. And so I think it is just the uncertainty and also just being open to the graces, but also being open to say that everything will lead to something else. And you don't have to make all the decisions right now. You're just making a decision, not the decision.
I work in the K-12 industry as well, so we can catch up later.
Of course.
Lucas, tell us about yourself, your journey,
Yeah.
ups and downs.
So I grew up outside Austin, Texas, and then came here. And I think something that really stood out to me is that this school really cares about its people, the students, the staff, the faculty, everybody who's associated with this place. They really, truly, deeply care about you. And that, to me, led me to want to do that as well. And so I was involved in a couple different programs here on campus, just supporting local high school students in their post-secondary thinking and thought processes. And so I was like, I want to do that. And so I got into education with the intent of becoming a school counselor, so a high school counselor specifically, with helping students just kind of discern and navigate what they think they want to do after high school. So I've been doing that for the longest, and I think that I truly believe education is something that is attainable for everybody, and the more you can get, the more doors and things it can open for you, but you still have to walk through it. The opportunities are there, but you still have to do the work, to do the thing. And so for me, that continued my own education journey. I ended up wanting to get a master's degree in school counseling because I needed that in order to do school counseling. And then I just kept thinking, like, how much, or what else can I do to serve? Because service is important to me, and I also recognize that here at this place. A lot of opportunities to serve, a lot of opportunities to give back and ensure you're doing something to help better the place that you are in. And so I decided to pursue a third degree. And then similar to what April was saying, I didn't ever expect to come back to South Bend, let alone work for this university. When I first moved back to South Bend, I didn't work for Notre Dame, and I felt like I was resisting. It was just like, I had my time there. I want to serve other organizations, do other things. But then an opportunity came up to serve as the academic advisor in the School of Architecture. And I think it showed me that the university was continuing to care about its students. Some of you may not know, some of you may know, the university is currently in a hiring freeze for staff. And so this role is a staff position. And so I know the architecture school had to argue, had to fight for this role to be a thing. And that just showed me like, okay, yes, they still care about the people that are here. They still care about the architecture students for this to happen. And so I feel like I'm doing a lot of the same work in what I was doing in high schools, but now it's just your older students now. So it's really fulfilling, and I think that's what was most important to me when I was leaving here. Is I want to be. I learned how to serve, how to be in a place and try to leave it better than I found it when I left. And so that's what I've just taken with me throughout my entire career. And I hope I've done that in the places, in the schools, the organizations that I've been with, and hoping to do that here. So so I think that's really been stamped on me from this university.
Thank you, Lukas. I'm thinking about your story. Since you had several degrees, and anytime you doubted yourself, or that, am I on the right path? Or
Yeah. So and when I was a student here, college was hard. Classes were hard. I went to a high school that it was brand new. I was the first class to go all 4 years through the school. And when people are opening school, as I learned at my most recent school, I was at a school that was 4 years old at that point, a high school. People just kind of make things up as they go. And so I probably had a little of that in my own high school experience. And so when I came here, it was very hard. I was not a great student. I thought I was a good student in high school, came to college and realized, no, I wasn't. But I think those struggles really helped me decide, like, yes, I can actually, go get a master's, go get a doctorate. I learned how to be a student, how to navigate, and just, ask for help. That was something I didn't really do. I still struggle with that now, asking for help. But yeah, that was a significant challenge. Just college classes, they really kicked my butt.
Sorry if you feel I'm pushing you a bit, but I want the audience to get to know you, because later you're gonna have your networking night. So, and last but not least, Ruben.
Gracias. So on networking, I'll preface my story with networking is a superpower, and all of you need to learn to do that. The sooner the better. So if you remember nothing from today, remember that. So I'm originally from Mexico. Grew up in Japan, and then came to the United States to study at Notre Dame. My original plan was to be a pilot astronaut, so I was studying aerospace engineering, was an Air Force ROTC, but as you can see, I'm neither a pilot or an astronaut. So I had put all my eggs in one basket, and then the Air Force told me, you cannot fly. They wanted me to design weapons instead, and I said, no, thank you. So I started working for Notre Dame, figured, 2-3 years to figure out the next step. And that ended up being a short career at the university, kept moving positions at Notre Dame. Then I had the dream of eventually becoming executive vice president at Notre Dame. So I was very close to Dr. John Affleck Gray. Some of you may remember him, great mentor. And then the pandemic happened. And I had just, prior to that, finished my master's in finance, also at Notre Dame. And it just changed my perspective. Unfortunately, my favorite uncle and youngest uncle passed away from COVID. And that really changed the whole perception of you're going to work in one place, retire, get a pension. Well, Notre Dame doesn't do pensions, but you retire, and then that life was short. It really opened my eyes to, if you really want to do something, the best day was yesterday, the second best day is today. So then I pivoted and I joined a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley. And that's because I had fallen in love with finance doing the master's degree. And then a couple of years into that, one of my cousins passes away from cervical cancer at age 22. And that was another pivot where I had been doing some work with the Harper Cancer Research Institute, some of you may know, it's right across the street, on a new way to combat cancer, which is precision medicine. So most people, when you talk about cancer, they know chemotherapy. That's a traditional way to treat cancer. Now, chemotherapy attacks the entire body. It kills the bad cells, but also causes a lot of collateral damage. So I've been learning about precision medicine, which only targets the malignant cells. So purple mutation, purple drug. Orange mutation, orange drug. And it relieves the rest of the body alone. So as an engineer, I started to ask questions. Why is it that certain people are eligible for targeted therapies? Why is it that certain cancers are eligible for targeted therapies? And that's what led us then to create the company that we're building now. still in collaboration with Harper as well as the Lucy Institute, because we are developing an AI platform. But in all of those pivots, now keep in mind, I'm an engineer and a financier. I have zero background as a medical doctor, zero background as the last biology class was in high school, right? But here we're building a team that is looking at DNA, RNA sequences, that is looking at biomarker discovery. And all of those people that have joined the team have come from network. People that I met throughout my short career, that eventually when we had this idea, and I said, hey, I need someone, head AI person. I asked someone on my board, we need a head AI person, and he introduced me to a Notre Dame alumnus from Peru, who I had no idea existed, who's a senior director of Microsoft, who's now our head of AI, right? Then we needed to get in contact with some hospitals in Panama. Well, reached out to some alumni in Panama. Turns out that the aunt of another person on the team is the general manager at one of the hospitals in Panama, right? So that's where, sometimes people say, well, I don't have a network. I don't know where to start. You're doing the first, you're here. You chose to come to this event. You chose to meet people. And know that the Notre Dame degree that you will have soon, I assume most of you are students, or if you're already an alumnus or an alumna, that will open doors. Now, you have to walk through the door, but the Notre Dame degree will open doors. People are willing to help. People are willing to be your mentor. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to knock on doors and leverage the Notre Dame Family Network.
Thank you.
Can I interject here for a second?
Go ahead.
There's one kind of common theme that maybe a lot of you have already heard. So there's the theme of service, right, for the greater good. There's the theme of Notre Dame help open some doors for me, right? And there's the recurring theme of things happened a certain way that led me to a greater good, right? So these are things that hopefully you guys are kind of picking up on, so that you can use them as little instruments of direction throughout your time here, is how do you maximize not only your 4 years, because they will go very, very quickly, trust me, trust us, and how will you use the resources that are available? For example, raise your hand if you felt very, very, very well prepared in high school to play the Notre Dame academic standards here. I did not, right? Did anybody here feel very well prepared in high school to say, okay, I was ready for the rigor, right? No, right? So this is a very common thing. For example, I went to high school in the southern border of Texas. Gangs, drugs, violence every day, right? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Right? Right. And so then I got here and I felt like a fish out of water, right? Is that a common sensation? Number one. The only thing I missed more than my family was my food, right? And so, I mean, I was homesick, but I was like stomach sick, So these were major, major initiatives. These are all things that all of us have experienced here with you, right? But we made it, we did it, we're out there, we're succeeding, define success, but we're doing okay. So, so these are things that hopefully, maybe we can talk about, like, how, this is a question I kind of want to collectively ask the panelists. What was your rock bottom moment when you were here, in 1 or 2 sentences? For example, my family couldn't afford to buy, it was Thanksgiving, and my family couldn't afford to buy a plane ticket for me to go home to Brownsville, Texas. So I stayed in the dorm, I stayed in Keene. My Thanksgiving dinner is one I'll never forget. Ritz crackers, cheese, and ham. That was my Thanksgiving. By myself. Everyone else is gone. It was like a ghost town on campus, right? That was my, oh my gosh. I didn't have a car to go, I didn't have money to go to a restaurant. And so that was to me these moments that I'm sure you guys are experiencing or will experience. These struggles strengthen you, right? So they make you stronger. And so maybe in 2 sentences, Crystal, we'll go down the line. Rock bottom moment, when was that? Here on campus, when you were here.
That's easy for me. I think all of you are high achievers in high school, right? You get straight A's, same story, but when I came here, calculus. Oh my God, I thought I was done in. I had to drop the class, my first semester, and that was really hard because, after that, you still have to take calculus, and if you fail it again, that's gonna affect your GPA, which impacts scholarships, so that was rock bottom. But I asked for help, and I got tutoring, and I took it again, and I got an A, so, but it was hard. That first semester was a real wake-up call.
Speaking of which, do you guys know about the TLP Transformation Leadership Program? That's only like 4 years old. We learned about it today in our last board meeting today.
Are there any TLP people in here?
Are there any TLPs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would be the poster child of TLP because I needed as much, you have to go to tutoring and, you have study center, right? The whole study area. I mean, that's an amazing thing. For y'all who don't know what TLP is, it's a program that helps people like the story that I just presented, homesick, have no idea what I'm doing. You got to figure out the grades, and everyone else went to prep schools, but we didn't, right? And so that's what they're there for, is to capture that, help you, and lift you up. So that was a very, very important thing. And Lukas, rock bottom moment here at Notre Dame.
Every time the football team lost a game.
You mean when we lost to Syracuse, when we lost to Northern Illinois, which one?
Or when they fired Ty Willingham.
Oh, yeah.
I would say probably similar, a class, the moment realizing that everybody did the reading, I did the reading, but what that person said was completely different from what I got from the reading. I was like, are you sure we read the same thing? Yeah, just class related.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Sorry. Nicolas?
Well, I think you won't let me lie because you were eyewitness. First winter as a freshman, tropical Honduras. I thought, it was going to be a winter wonderland with a sunny white snow. And of course, after not seeing sunlight for maybe 2 weeks straight, I got depressed, really depressed, and homesick as well. The first time I was away from home for such a long time, but good friends.
And a bottle of tequila.
Allegedly. No. So yeah, good friends help you get through life. In every point in your life, when you have a down moment, you have to have that network, friendship group that will help you pull through the darker moments. Yeah.
Ruben?
Being unable to go to flight school.
Yeah.
Because then it felt like it was 4 years. Because when you do ROTC, you
Right.
take extra classes, you do training in the summers, you go to military bases. It felt like, well, then I quote unquote wasted those summers and those extra classes during the academic year. But one thing I learned later in life, which I wish I had learned earlier, especially in college or even younger, is the concept of reframing, right? So reframing is you think something is going completely down the toilet. You think this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But there's always a lesson in that, or there's always another opportunity that's going to open up. So, if you're able to reframe any situation where you feel uncomfortable, and also you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to succeed, especially in the private sector. But reframing allows you to position yourself, take yourself out, and be objective about what's happening. Because it's very easy to get emotional, be subjective of any situation. But if you're able to reframe, become objective, then you start seeing solutions. Then you say, okay, that happened, it sucks. But how can I fix that? So, yeah, going to flight school sucked. I still fly a lot, I'm just not the one flying the plane. But yeah.
Carlos, in his story, sometimes when you have a crisis, it also opens up opportunities.
Yeah.
Ruben said his story about, having family members or friends passing away, and that gave him ideas to go into the healthcare system, right? So, such a life.
Every successful story I've ever heard about, every company starts with a rock bottom moment. Begins there. That is your moment of introspection. There's three things I tell my own kids. Who are you, number one? What is your current state? Ask these questions to yourself regularly. What is your current state? Who are you? Define who you are. You know, many people never know their weaknesses. They live their whole life thinking that they have only strengths, and they never identify their weaknesses. But really, it's the weaknesses that guide you and point you in the right direction. Your strengths, yeah, you know, we all kind of have our strengths. But what are your true weaknesses? These are your true definitions. So who are you? What is your current state? Meaning, what are you doing? Where's your interest and your emphasis on right now? And where are you going is the third question, right? Where do you see yourself going? I tell my kids this all the time. As I drive them to school, I give my son tells me, Papi, you're just trying to brainwash us. He calls it brainwashing. I'm like, no, I'm giving you an inspirational coach speech, you know, like every day. And so the third, where are you going? Like where do you see yourself going? Like for example, and I tell them this, I say, listen, that's by the way my 4-month-old and my wife. And so I tell them, look, you could say, I want to go from here to Alaska, right? Oh, how are you going to get there? No, I don't know. I'm just going to get to Alaska. That's not how it works. That's not life. Life is you need a map. You set goals. Goals is your destination. And then based on that goal, then you draw your map. You got to take a left here, you got to take a right here. So whether it's, for me it was medicine. And I said, I want to get into medical school. Okay, how are you going to get to it? Well, first I have to do this, or then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. But if you don't have goals, that third question, where are you going? Then you're walking around with a blindfolded life and you have no idea where you're going to end up. And you really are just wasting everyone's time and money, right? So have that goal, like define it. And the earlier the better. Don't waste anybody's time and money. Define that goal. Where do you see yourself? And it doesn't have to be a goal. Make it a goal. Like very high, very, very high. As they say, you shoot for the stars, you end up at the moon, right? So, you know, so aim as high as possible. I want to be a CEO. I want to be, you know, a doctor. I want to have these educational status. I want to reshape the government, right? Have these super, super high goals and don't be afraid because no matter what, no matter where you go, the way I always define it is the harder it is, the more worthy it is to fight for, right? The harder it is. The easier things in life are really not, like for example, I could sit around on my couch and watch Netflix all day long, right? That's easy. That's easy. But if you really want to make something worthy, make it hard. And have a bunch of people tell you no. Have a bunch of people tell you no. And say, no, it's never going to happen. You know how many times I've been told no? Oh my gosh, I could write a book about how many no's I've gotten. And all of them, I to the point where I tell my wife all the time, I say, I love when people tell me I can't do something because that makes me want to do it more. So I mean, great. April, what's your rough?
I was about to say, I was like, maybe that's like my advice to 18-year-old me. Spring, first year, hitting that spring break point, got the lovely mid-semester deficiency report. As my mom used to like to say, I liked all the letters of the grades. And I realized like I'm not doing well in Gen Chem. I love to go to lab. Take me to the lab, I will do the report, I will do all, but you take me to class and I am so confused as to what's going on. And so I went to go meet with my advisor. This is advice I do not advise, and no shade to you, Lukas's advisor. But the advisor tells me, so what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a doctor. He's like, okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's where we're going right now, based on what we have. In the moment, I will say that 18-year-old me was like, okay. And I just changed majors. I regret nothing about changing my major. What I do regret is not pushing back and saying, okay, if this is not going to be my trajectory, can you help me figure out what is? And I think that to me that's one of the reasons why I see like education the way I do, because I don't want to be a doctor, and shout out to all of you who do. But I wish that somebody would have pushed me harder in that moment to help me decide what I wanted to do, because I think college would have been a different experience. But yeah, I was basically being told like you're in the wrong path, and I just picked a path, and I'm grateful for that path. But it really, I think, I failed badly, miserably. But I do love a good Gen Chem lab. If anyone ever needs help with lab, I don't know what's going on, but I'll use the burner.
Have
It's
you
fine.
met Kate the chemist?
Yeah,
That blows stuff
yeah.
up?
Kate the chemist, yes, no, she's brilliant. Yeah.
Manuel, your rock bottom moment?
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of going last is I can copycat many of these ones. I mean, I can relate to the winter story coming from Curacao, 90-degree island all year, and reframing, I love that. I mean, I think I would point to, like, similar to your story, like my freshman year biology course. So I was, top student, straight A's my whole life, like what I consider easy life academically, and like to get that first, C, D, whatever that was, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? So I had to like think about how do I get out of this, and I think the good thing about Notre Dame, at least I felt this way, in the dorms and across like the community that you have around you, you can bounce around ideas. I didn't take as much advantage of like, the teachers and the professors and the TAs and all that, but I did feel like the community around me was so welcoming and so open to chatting about anything that I felt right away like I could do it. It was just a matter of reframing how I was thinking about it, preparing. Like it wasn't my forte per se, the way I was preparing for it, and it wasn't working. So I just had to kind of change the way I was doing things. Oftentimes, I actually like listening to Marcus Freeman on his leadership style, because he says some things that are really interesting, like reaching your full potential and kind of like trying to always look inward and really look into what you can do as opposed to pointing the finger. So that's kind of like my approach, at least back then, was kind of like looking inward and trying to figure out, okay, how do we make the best out of this situation? And I very quickly realized maybe getting straight A's on Notre Dame wasn't my path, but it was something I was willing to give up for, developing networks, meeting people, doing other things. And to me, that was okay, because I felt like I was going to get more out of the 4 years here than having a straight A, 4 years here.
Gregor, you got a rock bottom moment?
Yeah, well, we have time for one more questions.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that everyone, I don't know if you realized or saw a pattern among, their journeys from point A to point B. Everything I said at the beginning, all the changes, all the modifications, and at the end, they're all fine. They all survived, right? Anyway, just want to wrap up before the questions on the world today is, have you heard the term VUCA, B-U-C-A? No? That's the word we live today. V stands for volatility, U is uncertainty, C, complexity, and A is ambiguous. We can discuss that later on the network, and before I do that, let me just do one more question. So maybe April's question was pretty good. Let's do that for you, Manuel. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self, or your college self?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one thing I would say to my 18-year-old self is to be more open, to be more vulnerable, to get more help in terms of taking the full advantage of the university. I feel like when I go back and think about the relationships I built, I think at the student level, I have many, many relationships. My first opportunity at Deloitte, my offer was given me by Notre Dame alum. My second job, Notre Dame alum. So like the relationships are real, and that's always going to be doors that are open for you and that you can take advantage of. But when I think about my network of professors at Notre Dame and that I developed good relationships with, they're few and far between. So I wish I would have extended my network to the academia level of the university, because I think that would have been super helpful later on in my career.
Great, thanks. April, can you tell us a habit or skill that helped in your career most? Something.
I will say that I found this in the last 10 years. I finished a dissertation last year, and I live and die by the Pomodoro method. And I'll tell you what it is, because I was just doing it today because I really need to get a task done. 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break. 25 minutes work, 5 minutes break. 25 minutes. I think for me, chunking things out is something, and sometimes it is about time. Sometimes it's if I know I need to get something done and this has been more even just recently, and it needs to be done in 3 months. I'm a procrastinator. I love to just like all of a sudden be like, I wonder, like, should I learn how to start like cross stitching? Like, should I crochet? Oh my gosh, is there a new season of Insert Whatever on Netflix? I'm just gonna dive really into that. It's actually like, for me, I think it's a habit or skill of like thinking whatever the big thing is actually probably needs to get worked on way earlier than what I would have approached it in the past. Procrastinator me in college was super fun to distract you. But yeah, much better about being more attentive to my time.
Ruben, maybe tell us about your thoughts about challenges facing you right now and challenges you think they're gonna have in the next 5 years, now in the next 5 years.
Sure. So a lot of what we're seeing in Silicon Valley right now is, as you obviously see in the news, AI. How is AI ML going to change the workforce? And so the VC firm I'm a member of, we invest heavily in AI and ML. And I will go as far as saying that AI is not going to take away jobs, but it's going to take away traditional jobs in the sense that I think, so as we're building an AI company and we're also investing in AI, gone are the days where you actually write code, the algorithm itself. The algorithms have been written, the LLMs have been written, the foundational models have been written. What we look for more now, including the company we're building, is how are you going to use AI? So especially the younger generations, when I was in high school, it was, learn a second, third language. I would advise all of you, if you haven't already, to learn how to code. It's another language. That's what it is. It's learning another language. Why? Because I think AI can accelerate how tasks are done, but you need to know how to use it. So a good example is the internet. Right? All of us are now used to, I need to buy something, Amazon, click, done. Right? So when internet first came on board, a lot of people thought, all the businesses are going to go away. Will come in e-commerce, right? And come in Amazon. So I think the next generation, you're going to find a lot of opportunities if you're able to look at antiquated industries and figure out how to use these new technologies to accelerate how those businesses how that process gets done, how that work gets done. But it's not going to take away, in essence, the job itself. But my advice for future generations, learn how to code. At least learn what it is. Learn Python.
That's a great insight. So afterwards during network, if you want to talk about AI, please look for Ruben. Nicholas, what advice would you give to your college self?
So many. But I guess building on what Ruben was saying about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I would go an extra step, especially for me, was trying to understand that there's many levels of networking or many qualities of networking. And so you can have lots of contacts of lots of people, but if there isn't something a little bit deeper than just I know so and so in such a city, then they're very superficial, and you'll get out of them as much as you put into them. And I think the key would be care more about people, right? I mean, try to be more empathetic about people that you're networking with. Try to get to know them as much as possible. Not everyone will be your best friend, that's for sure. But what are their, struggles in as much as you can ascertain or as much as they want to share? What can you be helpful to them? Not only what can I take from them? So I would tell myself, push yourself a little more to make these more meaningful relationships and care about the person. Really care about them. They have aspirations. They have difficulties. They have needs, as I do. And so, how can I empathize with them in a deeper level?
Thank you, Nicholas. Lucas, challenges. He mentioned AI. You're in a different industry. What do you see? Do you also see AI as a challenge for the future generation, or do you see anything else?
I think I would see, so one thing that our that our dean of the School of Architecture recommended to our students this year was a couple things, two that really stood out to me. A challenge that a lot of our students have is just really focusing on like the outcome of a thing. So for example, your classes. You try to want to do as well as you can in your classes. You know, you do everything you can to get an A in the class, and if it doesn't go well, then you just don't feel great about that. And I think what gets lost is actual learning and what you're getting some skills from this particular class, whether it's something like technical, a drawing skill, learning how to really analyze something, and I think that's working in high schools and working with students that are really driven to go do great things, go attend really prestigious colleges and institutes of higher learning. I really see that in students, that there's just, if I don't get this certain grade, it's going to be the end of the world. And it's like, it's okay, you're 17 years old, there's 50, 60, 70 years still left. And so I think it can be a challenge to really not worry about the grade, because that's kind of how we've been conditioned throughout our educational journeys. But I think that's something that can be helpful. And then the other was for students to just not use their phones as much, and that's a challenge. But I think it's something the dean really stressed, making connections, and we've heard it up here already, being able to make connections with one another, have actual genuine conversations with somebody that really create those meaningful connections, because that's what you're going to rely on as you get started, when you finish up here, as you start with your career and whatever that is. I was just leading like an info session about the School of Architecture earlier today, and the prospective students were introducing themselves and just saying kind of where they are, and I was realizing I know people in each of the locations that they were coming from, and realizing that this place has really expanded what I do, and then now living here, working here, and also having worked in a local high school here, I can't go anywhere without seeing anybody that I know. And so it's important to be able to have, like right now, there's somebody in the back of the room who's a former student of mine, and I need to make sure I'm able to have a real genuine connection with that person. And I think our dean was really stressing to our students that doesn't really happen through technology, that doesn't really happen through your phones. It's convenient, it's easy for sure, but having those conversations face to face is important.
Thank you, Lukas. What he said, I think, is critical, because those personal connections is what's going to differentiate you from AI. And last but not least, Crystal, tell us, some skill or habit that helped you where you are today.
So when you first start a career in sort of like politics and policy, you are probably going to start at the bottom level, and you're going to be given grunt work to do. But along the way, that grunt work teaches you lessons, right? So never turn down an assignment that you may think is beneath you, because it's not. You're going to learn how to do things the right way. And then when you become a manager, you will hopefully impart those skills onto people that you manage, and help future generations to learn how to work in an office place. I can't tell you how many younger people that I've worked with over the years that I'm like, have you ever had an internship? Because things that seem second nature to me, because I've always put great pride into my work, I just don't understand how they've never been able to master the easy things, like putting a binder together with the right tabs and the order, the flow, anticipating what the person would need in those briefing materials. So I guess my biggest piece of advice is never think that there's some work that's given to you that's beneath you, because it's not. So I take lessons from that.
Thank you. We're right on time, Carlos. So I'll leave to you the closing remarks.
Yeah, we can open it up to any questions in general. If anybody has any resounding questions they want to ask collectively to the panel, and then we can transition into the networking. We've got food and treats and some swag. Those shirts are pretty cool, and some luggage tags that are over there. Feel free to grab them. I have them like on everything I use now. But any questions? I'm gonna wait to ask them in private. Well, very good. Round of applause for our
Okay,
panelists.
that's-
Kelly. So Kelly, by the way, Kelly McRaven is the current president of the Notre Dame Alumni Association Board, in which we serve together. So yes, go ahead, Kelly.
Well, thank you so much for the panel. This is a question, so we talked about networking a lot, and I totally agree as an alumni, as president of the Alumni Association, networking is so incredibly important, and because we are truly here for you. But if you could all just say, you know, when a student is about to reach out, like, what is the best way to go about that from your experience? Because sometimes that's very daunting. Even when I was a student, it's really daunting. So how do you suggest they go about that?
So one thing I recommend, and going back to the point mentioned by Carlos, or Oscar, meet people in person. Because as Gregor mentioned, like technology is great, but LinkedIn, you get like flooded with LinkedIn requests, LinkedIn chats. Email too is trying to find a needle in a haystack, to the point that now you got to use filters to make sure that the people you need to get an email from can actually read it. So even though it's becoming less common, go to events, meet people in person, right? Like I'm still old school, I carry business cards, right? And if you don't have a business card, you can exchange then your information. But then that allows, when you do get that LinkedIn request, it's like, oh yeah, I met that person at this event, or I met this person at this other event. Because there is something to be said, as Nicolas mentioned, like human connection is becoming lost. In my humble opinion, social media does not help at all, right? There's a lot that has been lost between people to people. And one thing that goes with that, in my opinion, is trust. Like I need to trust someone to do business with them. And for any of you who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs down the road, trying to get investors to invest in you, it comes down to trust. They don't invest as much in the idea as they invest in the person. And so you have to build that connection with that person, because otherwise you're just another of the 100 emails someone might receive daily. So in my opinion, go to as many events as you can. Notre Dame does a great job. The Alumni Association does a great job of having events throughout the year. Go to as many events as you can. Shake hands.
To build on that, wherever you think you are going to end up after you graduate, reach out to the local alumni club that's there, because they are all people that are, either alums or friends, and they want to help you out as you're relocating. I relocated a few times throughout my career. I'd always connect with them when I got to the new place, just because it's a great way to meet people. That's also something that's a challenge, just trying to meet new people in a new city. But reach out to the local alumni club. They also have events, young alumni events and things to connect and get into whatever industry you're thinking about.
Yeah, Crystal?
I just want to put a plug in. If any of you move to the Washington, D.C. area, get on our mailing list, because we host quarterly mixers with alumni in the D.C. area. It's a great way to network, find opportunities, connect with local alumni of all ages. Like we have a huge age range of people that come to these events. We just, we have people who are members of Congress that will show up, so they're really good networking opportunities.
It goes back to the old, it's not what you know, but who you know, right? So that's certainly the case in medicine as well. I'll give you just a very quick story. My wife and I, when we were in medical school, we were doing a rotation in West Palm Beach, and they didn't have housing for us. We slept in the hospital for a few months during a hurricane. It was horrible. And so we didn't have anywhere to do laundry, so we were doing laundry in a laundromat in like a horrible neighborhood. And so then my rotation was gonna be at a health clinic, and they said, oh, who's your attending physician who's gonna, what? I said, oh, it's Dr. So-and-so. He goes, oh man, he's so strict. He goes, oh, you're so screwed. He goes, you're gonna have a horrible 2 months. It's gonna be the worst experience of your life. And I said, oh, great, right when you're down and out. So I walk in the next morning, a little nervous, who's this doctor, so-and-so that I have to work with for the next few months who's gonna make my life a living hell. And I walk in and in front of his desk is a huge Notre Dame flag. And so I walk in, yeah, I'm Carlos, I'm the medical student. Did you go to Notre Dame? Yeah. Did you? Yeah. We're still friends. We're still friends. I mean, really good friends. We texted 2 days ago. And so it's amazing how, that like we're saying, the personal connections, who are you, you're actually buying the person, like the personality, and not like your resume, right? So, yeah.
Just want to
And
say,
April's experience, also, I'm sorry, Nicolas, in a tailgate, right, to redirected your life, yeah?
I say if you don't get a class ring, and remember there are funds that you can get one also. It's the number of times I've stopped
Yeah.
at like an airport, someone's sitting, they're like, oh, did you go to Notre Dame? And
Yeah.
I'm always like, sometimes I'm like, oh my
Airport.
gosh, yes I did, yes I did. But it is, it's such an
Yeah,
easy
it's
connection. It's absurd and it's cheesy and it's corny, it
But it's
totally works.
Very works. Nicolas, I'm sorry, yes.
just wanted to say, like, especially when you're starting out, don't be afraid. Like, the first phone call or the first, introduction or the first time you actually need something and you need to cold call someone, don't be afraid, do it. And you'll be surprised how it works, and people are very happy, like alumni, Notre Dame alumni are very happy to help. I mean, we're very happy. We feel we're giving something back to our university when we help someone else. So especially the first time you do it and the first couple of times, might feel like it's a big deal, but it really isn't, and you'll get used to that.
Yes, Kelly.
If you don't hear back from somebody when you reach out, try again. Like, keep at it, like, you don't know what that's going on, that person won't say day to day, like,
Yeah.
they may not be there. But try to get it, because that person didn't work, try someone else, like, because, like, it's so true, and this is again, like, for the alumni world, it's not just DC that have the in-person networking, I would say most every major city at least this country
Yeah.
has networking events. Most even smaller towns have networking events at the very much, at the very least, go to Game Watch. That's how you're able to build a network. Even internationally,
Yeah.
we have networking. We presence
Oh, yeah.
literally everywhere.
Yeah.
But don't get discouraged if you don't hear back. Just pick them again.
Yeah.
A few months ago, hey, just want to make sure you got my message. I'm pretty sure you'll hear back from that person and don't get discouraged.
Didn't the Notre Dame Club of Hong Kong win like an award for the most active club? We're everywhere, guys. Yeah. Use it. Round of applause for our panelists. Everyone made great efforts. Even Nicolas came from Honduras to come here to this panel. People from everywhere came to be here for you guys to listen to our voices and stories. Thank you for being here. We plan to do it again next year. So hopefully by then you move on, or you're a year older and 1 year ahead with a little bit more knowledge. We'll be around for networking and some snacks, and feel free to ask questions. Thank you very much for coming.